Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Now we would like to start the Ruby Prize presentation ceremony 2023. The Ruby Prize is presented to those who have made contribution among those who have recently joined. It was started in 2013. It is a so-called Rookie Prize in the Ruby community. In 2020, it was changed to the Personal Award. From across the world, the recommendations are given to the Ruby Association, Japan Ruby Association, and Matsue City organized an organization committee, which are actually engaged in the screening and the review. And then as a result, and we have decided who are the awardees, and we are presenting the prize and to that awardee. Now, we would like to invite the final nominees for the Ruby Prize 2023 to the stage. Mr. Kevin Newton, Mr. Hiroya Fujinami, Mr. Yuichiro Kaneko. These three gentlemen are the final three nominees for the Ruby Prize. Firstly, I would like to invite Mr. Yukihiro Matsumoto, Chair of the Ruby Prize Organizing Committee, to deliver a few words of greeting. Good afternoon. So you said that, again, this uncle has come up to the stage. But then please have a good, and I appreciate your good understanding. This is a Ruby Prize. There are various facets in the community. It is a gathering of many people from different backgrounds, and also this is an actually place where the collaboration is done. But then a community is what? And each individual is actually creating the environment and through their contribution and effort. So we call it this sort of environment and arena, the community. But an individual contribution and individual personalities are very important. Ruby Biz program is a part of the one, and there are many people who are committed to that. Community is generated, and individuals are making effort to challenge various issues associated with Ruby. We would like to support them. Then it was started as a Rookie Award. And we decided to change the name to the Personal Award, because then it's not only just looking at the past and achievement, and we would like to recognize and award those people who are making contribution to the betterment of the community. more recently in the community, there are quite a notable achievement, and we ask, are there anybody who has made such a notable contribution? There came many recommendations from across the world, and then given those recommendations, we had a review, and we have elected and selected those three final nominees: Kevin Newton, Fujinami-san, and also, sorry, I have forgotten your first name, Hiroya Fujinami, and Ko Yuichiro Kaneko. So you saw those images, and there was actually the wordings, which was about their accomplishment, and it was my hard work and outcome. I made a lot of effort to prepare that writing. What is actually biggest task, and after the nominees actually decided, and I am requested to write about their accomplishment. And we know those people very much, and I have to make utmost effort so that I can create something really striking and incisive, and also good to read and writing about them. Kevin is actually committed to passing, so he's a passer. There was actually the question about it, and so he is black belt, and so it's okay, and you can actually tackle him because he is strong enough. But the rewriting is what? So we actually gave a quotation, but an implementation by him was much quicker, maybe 3 times quicker than that. Fujinami-san is actually that regular description, regular expression in other languages, and it takes too long, so we give up. But Fujinami-san did not, and by improving the algorithm, he actually worked out different data structure. Then it doesn't take long. So actually, he committed to algorithm, and he designed the algorithm, and that was wonderful, and it was very striking. And he is really cool, and his product is very cool. Mr. Yuichiro Kaneko, parser, he is again parser, so this year is a parser's year. So Kevin was taking the approach, and actually 0 is actually written. So parser is rather hard to understand because Python is used. Python is a tool. It is causing some unclear part, and so actually the Python was used, and then he was writing. So maybe he was actually very quick, and we thought that it was rather insane aspiration, but more than 3 times higher than we expected, and he actually came up with outcome. So the parsers and a very complicated structure was eliminated and actually resolved. So those two people are actually maybe having some cannibalization, I'm afraid. They might be cannibalizing, to the very end. I would be happy even though they start a very, very strong fight until the end. And who is going to the winner? But it's not surprising that they might have some fight, everlasting fight. So Mr. Newton, Mr. Fujinami, Mr. Kaneko, they are really wonderful. They actually achieved something that could not have been done by anybody else. And so even they were not nominees, and they would be surely the nominees of next year. So I have a very strong empathy with them. Therefore, I actually introduced them with a lot of words. Thank you very much. I look forward to their advancement, and for all of them, thank you.
This has been Mr. Yukihiro Matsumoto, the chairman of organizing committee. Now, on behalf of Matsue City Mayor of Mr. Akihiro Uesada had a few words. Well, I'm again wearing suits. I did not know there's such a violent battle ongoing in the background of the Ruby. I came to know about it for the first time. Open source development of Ruby has been going on, and everyone is voluntary and dedicated to the dissemination and development of Ruby. But many people still do not know there are a lot of volunteers are involved in Ruby. development. So 2013 Ruby Association and Matsue City get together to establish Ruby Prize. That was the year 2013. In the prize, we would like to recognize those who have made a striking contribution, and we appreciate their efforts. And I think that will be a kind of the opportunity to motivate more people to work hard to get a Ruby Prize. So these are the aim of establishing the Ruby Prize. We have finalists, final nominees. There are 3 of them: Mr. Kevin Newton, Mr. Hiroya Fujinami, and Mr. Yuichiro Kaneko. 3 people are here. Am I pronouncing your name correct? I just cannot provide you a technical explanation about their history and record, but I really appreciate your effort for the development of Ruby. And I hope more and more people, probably in the back side of the whole right-hand side, I hope that several years later, many of them will work hard to get a Ruby Prize. If you are interested, could you please raise your hand if you want to aim at Ruby Prize? Yes, I wish you good luck. Yes, I do have a great expectation to all of you. So this is a day to observe this Ruby Prize presentation ceremony, and we hope that we can work hard to further development and dissemination of Ruby. And finally, we would like to celebrate the Ruby Prize, and I thank Matsumoto-san and Ruby Association and other people. Thank you very much for support, and I'm looking forward to the Ruby Prize ceremony. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor Uesada, Mayor of Matsue City. As mentioned by Mr. Matsumoto, Chair of the Ruby Prize Organizing Committee, now is the time to introduce to you the achievement made by those nominees. Mr. Kevin Newton, he was focused on the recursive descent parsing program, which he calls PRISM. Ruby has gotten the parse, and which was actually quickly evolving because of his contribution. That was evaluated. Mr. Fujinami Hiroya, cache is a technology which is used, and by using that, and he eliminated the DDoS security attack. Mr. Kaneko Yuichiro was engaged in the syntactic analysis called the parse, and then he eliminated and complicated difficult structure, so that the evolution of that parse was actually advanced quite tremendously. Now I would like to introduce to you the awardee of the Ruby Prize among those 3 final nominees. Ruby Prize 2023 awardee is whom one person is announced by Mr. Matsumoto Yukihiro, Chair of the Executive Committee. So it is in an envelope, so I'm now opening it up. Ruby Prize 2023, among those final nominees, and we have been elected. I was looking at the other side, wrong side, I'm afraid. Ruby Prize 2023, Mr. Kevin Newton, you are the awardee. You have won the prize. Mr. Kevin Newton, congratulations. Now we would like to move on to the presentation of the award and the prize. The first one is an Ruby Prize 2023. Award is presented to Mr. Kevin Newton, followed by Mr. Fujinami Hiroya and Mr. Kaneko Yuichiro. Mr. Kaneko Yuichiro. Kevin Newton様、
Ruby is
Ruby
the
プライズ
fruit of all
2023
of
さん、
our
こ
efforts.
の
In
開発は
recognition of
素晴
your
らしい努力
outstanding
を手伝いま
contribution
した
to
の
the
だ。
development and spread of Ruby, Ruby Prize Executive Committee Chairperson Matsumoto Yukihiro, November 9th, 2023. So congratulations.
そして上貞市長から
From
副賞
Mayor Uesada, 1 million yen voucher is now presented to Mr. Newton. Now, we would like to invite Mr. Newton to deliver a few words of greeting to the audience. He is an awardee of the Ruby Prize 2023.
I hope that we can build more software together in the future. Thank you.
おめでとうございました。
Congratulations, Mr. Kevin Newton.
では続きまして
Now, let us move on to the two other nominees, and Mr. Fujinami Hiroya, we would like to present to you the award.
Ruby Prize 2023 final nominee, Mr. Hiroya Fujirane, to the thank you very much for your great contribution to the development and the penetration of the Ruby Award, and you are highly recognized here, 2023 November 9th. Ruby Prize organizing committee member Yukihiro Matsumoto, congratulations. From the mayor, Uesada, yours, 100,000 yen. Now, Mr. Fujinami, could you say a few words? Thank you very much. I'm a graduate school student, and I do the research, and the other way I do the programming. So I think I'm glad that my research and the contribution to society actually matched. Thank you. Mr. Fujinami, thank you very much. I would like to move on to the next person, presentation award for Mr. Yuichiro Kaneko. Ruby Prize 2023 final nominee Yuichiro Kaneko, the same wording, and this is Yukihiro Matsumoto. Congratulations. And this is the prize money from the mayor of Matsue. Mr. Kaneko, could you say a few words to the audience? Thank you very much. So thank you very much for your great contribution to our project. I would like to say thank you to you. And there are a lot of young people joining us. The Purser is now very popular, and because many people interested in it, because it's so intriguing. So if you are interested, could you please think about contribution to Purser or to mine or Kevin? Thank you. Mr. Kaneko, thank you very much.
Now, to mark this auspicious occasion, we would like to invite Mr. Kevin Newton to deliver the commemorative lecture or the speech while being given the Ruby Prize 2023. The other nominees, final nominees, are now leaving the stage. Now I would like to invite Mr. Kevin Newton when you are ready. Now, Mr. Newton, thank you. Good afternoon. I must apologize that I cannot speak Japanese, so my apology. I am a foreigner, I'm afraid. I'm not Japanese.
My name is Kevin Newton. I work at Shopify, and I am honored to be here today. It feels like a pilgrimage to come to Matsue, the birthplace of Ruby, so it's very nice to be here. I was nominated for this project that I have worked on for 2 years called Prism, which is a Ruby parser, and I'm here to talk to you today about that. What is Prism? For an overview, Prism is a new Ruby parser built from scratch. We have built it with the following goals. Number one, it has to be compatible with C Ruby. We want to build it such that it has the exact same functionality. Number two, we want it to be as maintainable as possible. We want this to be a library we'll have for 30 or 100 years as we go forward. We want it to be error tolerant, which means we can have syntax errors in the file and still be able to build meaningful code from it. We want it to be portable to run on any Ruby implementation, C Ruby, but also JRuby and Truffle Ruby and other Ruby implementations, as well as used in other tools, as Matt mentioned with Rubocop or RubyMine or RubyLSP or so on. And finally, we want it to be as performant as possible. We want a very, very fast, very efficient parser. For a quick overview of the timeline of this project, it started over 2 years ago, but the first commit to a prototype was built in early 2022. We had our first call with the C Ruby team, including Matsumoto-san, in early 2022. We made our first commit in late 2022. At the time, it was called YARP, or Yet Another Ruby Parser. It was not a good name. In early 2023, I had my daughter. Thank you. We should be clapping for my wife. So I took some time off, and then while I was out, the first commit into Truffle Ruby happened, which is another Ruby runtime that was using Prism as its parser. And Truffle Ruby will be using Prism as its parser in the next version. JRuby also started working on using Prism, and in their next version, they'll be releasing using Prism as their parser. We started integrating into C Ruby in mid-2023. I made the first commit into syntax tree using Prism, which is a formatter for Ruby. We made another commit here into the parser gem to replace the back end of the parser gem with Prism. And finally, recently, we renamed from YARP to Prism, which is the name we're going to stick with. So how was it built? There were many factors that went into the design of this project. To start, for the approach, we made a comparative analysis of different trees. There are a lot of tools out there right now that parse Ruby, so we wanted to see the best parts of all of those tools. When designing the tree, it was important to think about who was going to use it. And we wanted to build a parser that would create the most semantic tree. It would be representative of the code that was going to run, not the syntax that was used. And finally, we wanted to provide functionality for all possible users, not just Ruby runtimes, but also Ruby tools and everyone who is going to use this tool. When we were designing for Ruby implementations, we wanted to make compiling Ruby as simple as possible. We wanted to make it so that you never had to go further down the tree to understand the current level of the tree that you were compiling. And we wanted to provide as much common functionality as possible so that everyone using this tool could benefit and not have to re-implement other features on top of it. When designing for tooling, like RuboCop or RubyLSP or other tools, we wanted to make sure that every field within the tree was well documented with named fields, known types, make it very solid. We wanted every node in the tree to have enough information to be able to replicate the source, to go, we say round trip, but go back to the source it came from so that no matter what node you are looking at within the syntax tree, you can always go back to the source. We wanted to provide location information, and by that I mean the location in the source, the offsets within the source file that everything comes from, so that tooling that needs to know about the location of parentheses always knows where it is. Finally, designing for maintenance. We wanted to template and generate as much code as possible to make this as maintainable as possible. We want to provide documentation so that newcomers always know what's happening in the project and don't have to guess. And we wanted to build the biggest test suite for Ruby parsers that existed. To do this, we built lots of our own tests, but we also pulled in tests from other existing parsers. There were many, many challenges in doing this project. There are still many, many challenges. But some of the hardest ones involved escaping. There are many different escape sequences in Ruby, including some that come from Emacs. And it's required that you escape properly in order to find the end of various constructs in the tree. In order to properly parse Ruby code, you also have to properly parse regular expressions in order to understand which local variables are introduced. As Mats mentioned, Ruby has lots of encodings, and we needed to provide support for all of those encodings, which took a while. And finally, herodocs are always a challenge. Herodocs are very, very complicated, and they can be everywhere. We were very interested in testing from the very beginning. We wanted to have lots and lots of tests. So we started by testing the lexer against the existing Ripper library. We started snapshotting our syntax trees so that the next time the test suite ran, we also generated it and compared to make sure there weren't any regressions. We did a lot of brute force testing for escape sequences. We tested every possible combination in every possible context. We have a fuzzer that is constantly running and testing random input against our parser to make sure it doesn't break. And recently, we've been working on grammar-based fuzzing, which provides a grammar to the fuzzer to build random valid input to make sure we don't crash. I'd like to talk to you about the integrations that we have currently going. On the C API, we have many APIs, but on the C level, we have an integration into C Ruby. We are almost done finishing the compiler to match up one-to-one. We have started work on integrating into the sorbet type checker, which is a C++ project. We've begun work to integrate into the Artichoke Ruby runtime, which is a Rust project. Prism is now the default parser in the Natalie Ruby runtime, which is a C++ project. And there's some other tooling. There is a guy I know that is working on a Zig tooling for Ruby, and he's using Prism for this as well. We have a Ruby API for interacting with this with the AST, and Natalie is using that for eval, and there's lots of tooling that is using Prism now as its Ruby API. Finally, we provide a serialization API, which is used to make foreign function calls, which you can access from other languages. We are using this in JRuby as the parser, Truffle Ruby, and just recently we introduced WebAssembly support, and JavaScript uses Prism, and you can access the Ruby syntax tree in the browser and in Node. I'm going to pause because I just gave a lot of words and I'm waiting for the translators because I don't want to overwhelm them. Now the question of why build this. I want to interject in here and say I don't want to fight Mr. Kaneko. He has been very inspirational for this work, and I have very much appreciated all of the work that he has done. So just wanted to say that up front. I work at Shopify, and we have thousands of developers, and we want to build a very good parser that has lots of tooling to make our developers faster. This is the business use case for this, and this is why I have been paid to work on this, because we want to make it so that everyone can learn Ruby very, very quickly. We have a fractured ecosystem around parsers. There are many that have been developed over the years. There's the main C-Ruby parser in parse.y. There's the Ripper parser, which is almost the same thing. LibRuby parser, MRuby, typed Ruby and sorbet, White Quark parser, Ruby parser, JRuby, Truffle Ruby, Tree Sitter Ruby, RuRuby, Natalie, and now Prism. These all do the same thing. This is not good. On top of the parsers, we have different syntax trees. We have the two in Ruby, C-Ruby. We have Rippers too. We have mine in the syntax tree gem, LibRuby parser, MRuby, typed Ruby and sorbet, parser and RubyCop AST, S-expression processor, JRuby, Truffle Ruby, Tree Sitter, RuRuby, and Natalie. Before Prism started, these were all of the syntax trees. I have a comic here from XKCD. Situation, there are 14 competing standards. 14? Ridiculous. We need to develop one universal standard that covers everyone's use cases. Situation, there are 15 competing standards. Now we have Prism. This is not good. But we have started to open pull requests to replace some of these parsers. The point is not to eliminate work that has been done. The point is to unify. Not all of these pull requests will be accepted, and that's okay. We are opening these pull requests as a suggestion, as an opportunity to try to unify. So if all of these pull requests are merged, all of these would go away. And that is a better looking slide. I don't know if this will happen. I hope it will. I also want to get a couple more up there. We'll see. When we have all of these different tools and different parsers and different syntax trees, we develop separate understandings of what Ruby means. Every tool represents Ruby differently. every tool requires contributors to relearn what Ruby code means. And none of this makes it so that they can contribute to C Ruby. We want, if you learn how to work on Rubocop, you should also be learning how to contribute to C Ruby because it will use the same tools underneath. On top of that, there is a maintenance burden. Every time new syntax is introduced, every parser has to get updated. That was 14 parsers, plus mine, 15 parsers. This means that very minor changes in syntax have very major implications for the entire ecosystem. Everyone has to stop working on the top level tools and come back down to the parser and re-implement it and then start all over again. So helping Ruby and building new syntax can inadvertently hurt Ruby tooling. And this isn't intentional. We don't want this, but it can happen. So what is the future of the Prism parser? Next year, we want to build much better error tolerance and messaging. I would like to build translations for our error messages so that you get error messages in any language. We want to enhance the performance. We have begun looking at vectorization for instructions. We want to support multiple versions of Ruby, Ruby 3.3, Ruby 3.4, Ruby 4.0. We want to make even more integrations into the ecosystem so that all of Ruby and all of the contributors only have to learn one syntax tree. We want to improve our Ruby library to support all of the tools that are using it. And we want to get everyone to contribute to one tool so that we can all build up a shared understanding and help newcomers to the ecosystem only have to learn one tool. Thank you so much. It is an honor to be here and to be nominated. Thank you so much.
Kevin Newton 様、ありがとうございました。
Mr. Kevin Newton, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, could you please give big hands to the winner, Mr. Kevin Newton and Hiroya Fujinami and Yuichiro Kaneko. Could you please give them big hands once again? With this, we are going to conclude the awarding ceremony of Ruby Prize 2023.
Now I would like to begin the lecture by Mr. Iwase, but we would like to take a 10-minute break and we would like to begin the next session at 10 minutes before 2. 10-minute intermission. Thank you.